wasn't stepping up as a wife. I felt bad because I take being a wife to him very seriously. It made me feel like I was kind of disappointing him and then also disappointing myself. It definitely was just like, damn.
So last week I had some choice words for Olajuwon, and it seems like I wasn't alone because there was a lot of feedback on the thread about how he treated Katina and how he spoke to her. And thought I would come back this week after having watched last night's episode and cover the conversation that they had with Dr. Viviana. I'm glad that Viviana was in the room because I feel like this season the experts, quote unquote, haven't been around as much as they should be, given all of the strife that's going on with these couples. Be honest, I would have preferred Pastor Cal in this situation because I think he would have given Olajuwon the man-to-man on this, but Viviana did a decent job. And yeah, so we're going to break this down frame by frame. And while I hear Olajuwon more than I heard him last week, now that they have a moderator in the room to help him articulate his thoughts, I kind of get some of what he's saying. His delivery still needs a lot of work, and he also does need to spend some time thinking about the big picture. I feel like he has an idea in his head. He's painted a picture, and anything less than that will not do. And that's not how the world works. It's definitely not how relationships work. And he'll have a rude awakening because I do think that Katina is good for him. I think if he could fix some things, they could be a good couple, but he's got to make some serious changes. And she has to play her part and she has to call him on it, which she did some of today at the coaching of Dr. Viviana. But I need more. And the reason I know that she has it in her is because when they were having this beef with Lindsay and Mark about whatever Lindsay said to them on the bus when they were on their way to Puerto Rico. And, she had a voice. She told Lindsay about herself. Later on, when they were on a catamaran, she checked her. So Katina knows how to be vocal. She knows how to express herself. She knows how to handle conflict. She's just not doing it with Olajuwon. And I'm not sure if it could be several things. She could be afraid of him. She could be just wanting this relationship so bad. She could have low self-esteem, not feeling like she deserves him. It could be some stuff from her past, which she references. There's some triggers. Maybe she was told that she's not enough. She's not good enough. People highlighted her flaws to the point where she feels she doesn't feel like she has enough agency to stand up for herself. There's a lot of different things at play here. Even given that, Olajuwon is still out of order, and we're going to talk about that in a second.
Did you not eat before you were married?
To me, I could grab anything on the go, or I could make something easy and small. But I have a wife now, and she works at home.
Again, it's his words. I have a wife now. He makes her sound like a possession, not a gift. You guys are supposed to both be gifts to each other. Nobody here on this earth is entitled to a husband or entitled to a wife. They are a gift to you. And as such, you are supposed to treat them like that. And his choice of words makes her sound like a possession, an appliance that's supposed to do what it's supposed to do. He makes it sound like I'm not sweeping the floor no more. I have a vacuum. That's the kind of vibe he's giving with this. He talks a good game about partnership and love and all this other stuff, but the brass tacks of it is he believes this wife should just be on some domestic ish. And him saying, I have a wife and she works at home. Excuse me, sir. A lot of us work from home, and just because we're home doesn't mean we're sitting here like Peg Bundy, twiddling our thumbs and laying on the couch eating bonbons watching people's court. Like, we're working at home. So just because we didn't get in a car and go on a commute and all this other stuff doesn't mean that there's still not work that's being done and that needs to be done. So being home, cooking you a gourmet meal may not be feasible for somebody who is at work because you don't know what that at work looks like.
That's just in me. I'm okay with taking care of the household if I'm happy.
But if you're not happy, you're just
then no, I'm not gonna drop it. But then I look at this as like, why am I in this marriage?
A couple of things here. He says he has no problem taking care of the household if he's happy. Number one, what does taking care of the household mean to you? Does that mean that Katina doesn't have to work? Does that mean that you are going to be the primary caretaker, the primary breadwinner? Are you going to provide for the entire household? That's a different conversation. You've not said that. And I don't even think that's a conversation the two of y'all have had. Has Katina said that she doesn't want to work anymore? Has she said that she would like to be a homemaker or a stay-at-home wife? So you jump in the gun here, number one, because you need to make it clear what that means. Because if you're saying I'll be the provider and you can stay home and just cook and clean, she might go for that. But that has not been settled upon. And then he says, I will take care of the household if I'm happy. Sir, that's conditional love. And love is not conditional. If you love somebody, I'm not saying you take and accept any and everything from them, but staying committed to your relationship and doing the work is not contingent upon your happiness, because people can write their own happiness. They can constantly, like I said last time, move the goalpost. Happy today is not happy tomorrow. He looked happy up until now. He looks like he's happy with her most of the time until food comes up. So you'll provide for the home 85% of the time until it's time to eat. Like, you can't quantify a relationship like that. That's just kind of not how it works. And it's okay that he doesn't understand that because he's not been married. I don't know what his parents' situation was, if they were together or not, but he has a lot of standards and a lot of expectations. And I'm really curious to know what they're based upon.
The remark of saying, I'm gonna clean half the floor, it bothers me because now I question, are we mentally on the same level?
Now, this is where I will give Olajuwon some grace. If it happened the way he said, where she said, I'll just clean half the floor, or she did half of the work and then went to bed, that's childish. That's not mature. That's problematic. She has not denied it, so I'm just going to take his word for it. Yeah, that's not cool. But what also is not cool is to say, I question, are we on the same mental level? I'm not sure what he meant by that. Dr. Viviana took offense to it as well. I took offense to it because I heard she might be stupid or she may not be as smart as me. Maybe he didn't mean that, and maybe he needed to articulate that better or provide some more information. But to question her intelligence because she is, even if she is lazy, lazy does not equate stupid. And those words are damaging, they're hurtful, and they're meant to hurt. And like Viviana is going to say later, taking care of your wife means taking care of her feelings. And I don't know that he has put in enough effort to take care of her feelings.
I feel like I'm with someone that if I do something wrong, they're gonna like threaten to leave me.
And see the language that she's using, if I do something wrong, as if he is in a position to punish her. And this is what I was talking about last week, where it's this father-daughter relationship where she has to behave herself in order to be treated well. Nobody wants to live like that. Nobody wants to live under that thumb. He doesn't even want it. I mean, nobody wants to be in a relationship where they are doling out reward and punishment as if they're some kind of monarch. You know, what you're getting from her then is not true emotion. It's not true thought about your feelings. It's not good energy. It's just, I don't want to be in trouble, you know? And you don't want somebody who is behaving out of fear. You want them to love you, to treat you well because they care about you, because they want you to be happy, not because they're afraid of what the outcome is going to be if you aren't happy.
Be married to someone who calls out your like insecurities. It just makes me feel like I'm not good enough.
And sir, this is the time when you tell her she is good enough. This is when you put your arms around her. You just don't look at her like you don't understand why she's crying. You made her feel this way. And I don't know how you call yourself, I don't know if he said he loved her, but caring about somebody and sitting there and watching them cry as a result of the things that you've said to them. I don't see in his eyes where he feels bad for what he just did. It's more like I said what I said kind of vibe. You know, clearly she has some wounds. She has some insecurities, and perhaps he doesn't know about those. And maybe this was a great breakthrough conversation for them to explore those things and talk about it. Now, granted, if she has issues from her past, she has wounds, that's her baggage, that's her stuff, right? She's bringing that to the relationship, but then now it's becoming their stuff. And he needs to understand what it's all about. So he's got to ask some questions. He's got to do some active listening. And I know that's not one of his strong points. And he has to realize how his behavior, his words will feed into those insecurities or will poke at those wounds, because clearly she's hurting here. You know, and something else that happens is when folks have these insecurities about things from their past, things their parents have said to them, or friends or family or whatever. I mean, we all have it, right? You have to tread carefully, because this can unearth a lot of things. You know, maybe she's not domestic because nobody ever taught her how to be. It happens in a lot of families. You know, there are mothers who don't teach their daughters to cook, who don't teach them how to clean. I should say parents, excuse me, who don't teach their children how to cook, how to clean, don't hold them responsible to do certain things. They just move through life and nobody has ever told them these things. And hopefully along the way, they pick things up, they watch their peers, they may hopefully have another adult in their life who can fill in those gaps. But if they don't, then they don't. They don't know what they don't know, you know? And instead of poking at her, instead of making her feel bad about that, help her. But not in this condescending way that he's done, where it's like, you'll get there, you'll learn one day. It's the tone in which he's saying it. It's not a collaborative effort of like, all right, so let's go food shopping together. Yeah, and you know, when I go shopping, you know, I usually just buy an 8-pack of toilet paper because, you know, you can go through 2 rolls really fast and it's cheaper if you buy 8. Like, those are the kind of conversations you have to kind of teach her or coach her on how to be domestic, or to fulfill some of these adult responsibilities. But the tone, you are not going to get the results you want. And if you do, it's only going to be out of fear. And once she finds her voice, or once she gets fed up, she's going to leave you. So for your own purposes, Olajuwon, you need to tread carefully.
When you're telling me that, like, oh, like, I'm lazy or like things like that, that's all the echoes that I'm hearing in my mind. So your tone and like the words that you choose, even though it might be your truth, they're also very harsh. Your energy, your tone, that is what you need to work on.
I hear that.
Yes, sis, tell him, communicate with this man and let him know how you feel and how what he does and what he says makes you feel. She's probably doing it because Dr. Viviana's in the room. I don't know if she would have had the gumption or felt brave enough to do it, but hey, you know, this is what this is about. This is what the experts are here for, right? And sadly, I don't think he heard her. You know, the eyes are the window to the soul. And Olajuwon's eyes, there's like, the lights are on, but nobody's home. You know, he's one of those people who doesn't listen. He just waits to talk. He quasi heard what she said, but he immediately, as soon as she finished her last sentence, he was already reared up and ready to speak his truth or give his side of the story. You know, he didn't even take time to sit and absorb what he had just heard from her.
What did you hear her just say?
It's my tone. I have to work on my tone.
Tell her, I hear you say that I need to work on
I hear you say I need to work on my tone.
What else?
My demeanor.
What else?
That's really it. That's all I heard on that.
And pointing.
That's really it? Olajuwon, really? He's in defensive mode. He doesn't like to be criticized. He doesn't like to be questioned. And you can feel the energy in, look, that's all I heard. I heard that. That's all I heard. Take a beat, bro. Breathe. Absorb it. Hear her. Ask a follow-up question. You're so in defense mode that you're missing the message.
Pointing out her faults and insecurities, especially when they're triggers for her,
Right.
that's not taking care of your wife.
Exactly. You know, he said earlier, I will take care of the household. Taking care of the household is beyond paying bills and, mowing the lawn and taking out the garbage. It's about taking care of your partner, your woman, possibly the mother of your children. That's your job. All that other stuff is just chores. Your core right here is to take care of that woman sitting next to you. And again, I go back to my point. So when he said he'll take care of the household, what did that mean? Did it mean the bills? Because I don't even know that he is prepared to do that. Life is expensive. The cost of living in Boston is no joke.
When you feel like you're giving 100,
Say I.
when I feel like I'm giving myself and I'm not being met, so it's tough when I talk to you and I get no reaction.
Okay, this is where I will give Olajuwon this. I'm trying to be balanced here, folks. I don't want people to think I'm just male bashing. I'm just calling this as I see it. Him saying he doesn't get a reaction, I hear that. Katina says nothing. When he says these things to her, she's just sitting there looking at him with a blank stare, and then, she may say, oh, I'll try better. I'll try to do better. And that is frustrating when somebody just keeps saying that but not doing it. I get that. But what I think that there's something else going on here as well. I think Olajuwon doesn't respect somebody who will allow him to walk all over them. He wants and needs that pushback. I don't want to say confrontation, but I think he needs to see that she's not going to allow him to step all over her. And the fact that she kind of is, I think turns him off. That's why I said before, if he was with Jasmina, it would be a whole different relationship. Number one, because Jasmina ain't going for it. And don't get me wrong, Jasmina got her own issues, but she would not allow this treatment. And I think that he might find that attractive. Men like Olajuwon they like it easy, but the people who are easy, they won't stay with. They need somebody who's going to give them a little bit, give a little back and forth and stand up for themselves. And Katina has yet to do that. So when he says, I look at you and I don't get any reaction, I think he's saying a couple of things. Number one, like, hey girl, stand up for yourself. Don't let me just talk to you any old kind of way. And number two, tell me how you feel, and she's had multiple opportunities to tell him about himself. Hey, I don't like it when you do X, Y, and Z, or I'd like it if you did more of X, Y, and Z. That's why when he sits here and says, I'm giving 100%, we could all look at him with a side eye, like, what does that even mean? But does she know what it means? Because, none of us are married to this man. I mean, that would have been one of my first questions. Like, so what 100% are you giving? And what does that look like? But he can throw out all these terms and phrases because there's no question about it. She has not asked him anything. It's like she's in the mode of making him happy. She said that several times. But where is her happiness? And I think although it sounds counterintuitive, because he's the person who is kind of got his foot on her neck, he also wants her to stand up for herself. And I'm glad that, Dr. Viviana pushed them in this conversation to get to a point where it's clear now that he wants to hear something. He needs some feedback from her. And I'm hoping that she feels empowered and comfortable in giving that feedback moving forward.
Please open up. The cooking and cleaning, you don't have to do that every day. I point those things out because that's the only way I can kind of bring it to you. You see, I am emotional with this marriage. You can see my frustration is coming off of the lack of you being vulnerable.
I don't know this vulnerability he wants. It might have been the word he chose because it just sounds less accusatory than all the other things, all the other words he's ascribed to her so far. She did mention before that she trained herself not to cry, and then 5 minutes later he made her cry. So I don't know if vulnerability is the issue here. I just think that he's got to let go of some of his archaic ideals of what a marriage looks like. And again, and maybe address some of his issues, because, you know, perhaps he grew up in a home where his mother didn't cook. There was never a hot meal waiting for him. He ate fast food most of his upbringing. And now that he's an adult and he can do it his way, he wants a wife who cooks a meal. He wants to come home and smell something cooking in the oven. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's his stuff. Like I said before, her insecurities are her stuff. So don't project your childhood traumas or shortcomings onto this woman, and to the point where she's in tears. And maybe that's a conversation you have with her where you be vulnerable and you tell him, like, listen, my mom never cooked. This is why it's important to me. This is why, you know, having a wife means these things to me. And if she can wrap her mind around that, I think she'd be more invested in making these things happen and creating a home for you that makes you feel comfortable and safe. But again, there are conversations that need to be had. So I don't know if this was the great ending for this conversation, you know, if this was the outcome that they should have had as far as, you know, her being more vulnerable. But I think they both have some growing to do. I'm not going to go so far as to call this woman lazy. I think, you know, she has lived a certain lifestyle that did not call for certain things. And now she is married, and it's going to take some time and adjustment to, you know, to see what that looks like and realize that it's just not me. I'm not going to just order food for myself. I've got to, if I'm going to order food, I got to order food for two people. And, you know, that kind of frame mind from single to couple takes a little bit of time. And the cleaning half a floor, not acceptable at all. But then he also has to dial it back a little bit, recognize she's been a single woman for all these years, and, you know, she may not have been taught certain things, and that, you know, maybe this is where he can help, and they can learn and grow together. You know, that's what a marriage and a relationship is supposed to look like. So I'm going to take my foot off of Olajuwon's neck until next week, until he act a fool again. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit for having this conversation and for, you know, being a little more vulnerable himself and taking some of the advisement from Dr. Viviana. But I definitely think he needs to grow up and to, you know, and listen and not make everything about him. So I hope you enjoyed this. And again, we had a really good conversation after the last video. So I look forward to you guys commenting and let me know what you thought about this scene between the two of them and this episode and them and the trajectory of their relationship. And again, like and subscribe. I do reviews on a lot of different shows, different types of shows and topics. So like, share, and subscribe, and you'll get a notification when my new videos are uploaded. Have a good weekend. Bye.